Hi everyone and welcome to NameHero.com. In today's video, I want to talk about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and this is a good time for everyone, not even just our customers, but potential customers, those just watching this on YouTube that have WordPress or websites or just have computers in general, to really evaluate the security that you're doing on your end and kind of going over some simple steps to make sure you're taking a proactive approach. So cybersecurity is, it's a huge thing, and that's why there's now an awareness month for it, because I think we can all do a little something to make the internet a much safer place. And so I'm recording today's video specifically talking to our customers at NameHero, but as I said, everyone should be able to benefit from this. If you are a customer here at NameHero, I'm going to show you some, 7 simple ways to keep your website safe and secure. So right now I'm on the main page of NameHero, and I recommend everyone reads our blog daily or maybe weekly because you're going to get some good tips. And you can easily get to our blog by clicking on the support tab. And if you scroll down here, you can see our blog syndicates to here, so in real time. So you can see my latest post, what you should do immediately for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You can also go down here and click on the startup blog link here, or you can just go to namehero.com/startup or namehero.com/blog. So either one is appropriate. So if I scroll down here, I'm going to highlight a lot of this. Now, last week I had the pleasure of speaking at the cPanel conference in their hometown of Houston, Texas. And I spoke on a panel called the Security Panel. And basically this is where a couple industry experts get together, we sit on a panel, and then we take questions from everyone in the audience. And the audience was composed of other web hosts, other people who use cPanel, vendors of cPanel, and just kind of the whole industry as a whole. I would say there was probably about 45, 50 people inside this talk, and then there was 3 of us panelists on the panel, and then one of the cPanel moderators. Now, I think the common thread, though, amongst everyone was the proactive approach that customers can take. Now, I read a study recently that when a customer's website gets compromised or hacked, about 40% of people, they blame the web host. And I can understand, as a web host, you want us to keep your website online, safe, secure. So uptime's huge, but of course you want us to keep your website secure. Now, as a web host, and at NameHero, we've placed a ton of emphasis on this, on security of your website. Now, the problem lies is in the specific security aspects to every single account. So it would be really almost impossible to go through every single NameHero account and develop a security plan specifically for every account, because this is why. Some people use certain softwares. Some people don't like to update their software. Some people, they write their own code. So really, for us to develop a specific security plan for each website, we would have to know what software you have on your site. We'd have to know how you write your code. And really, the manpower that would take would create our prices to be really high. And so we don't want to do that. So at NameHero, we kind of have to cast a wide net. We have to put security policies and protocols in place for servers as a whole. But then when it gets to specific websites, there's some major and they're really common sense things that you can do to really secure your site. So if I scroll down here, I've got 7 of them that's on here. And these are things that you do not have to be technical to do. Anyone can do them. And I recommend, if you're watching this video and you are a customer at NameHero, or if you're a reseller at NameHero and you have customers, have your customers do this as well. It's very, very important, and it will keep your website much safer and much more secure. I like to use an analogy. If you have a home or an apartment or a condo or whatnot, and you go to sleep at night, I would say pretty much everyone that's watching this locks their door. Now, obviously, if there's a bad guy that really wants to get in, they can break the window or break down the door. But most of the time, since the door's locked, if a bad guy comes and sees it's locked, they'll just go on to the next. And the same goes if you have your car parked in a parking lot. And let's say you have a lot of bad guys, they'll go check car handles, car doors. I know in Kansas City, this is actually a big problem. If the car is unlocked, they'll get in and steal maybe the change or whatever valuables they can get. If the car is locked, a lot of times they won't mess with breaking the window. They'll just move on to the next because there's other cars out there that are unlocked. So this is the same with WordPress and installations and web hosting accounts. A lot of times the hackers, they don't spend much time on a site that's locked, on a site that's hard to get into. If it is, then they'll just move on to the next, because there's so many sites out there that don't practice basic security. They don't want to spend too much time on any one site. And so this is what we talked about at cPanel conference, that, just these small measures make a big impact because the hackers will simply just move on. So the first thing you should do is enable two-factor on both your Name Hero and your cPanel and or Web Host Manager. So at Name Hero, this is very, very simple. And if you click this link, I've got a full tutorial on how to do this with cPanel, Web Host Manager, and Name Hero. So let me show you what it looks like at Name Hero so you can make sure that yours does this. So if I hover over account and click login, I'll bring it up in a new window. You see my account. So I'm going to log in and click login. And now when I log in, it asks for my two-factor code. So I pull out my smartphone, I use the Google Authenticator app, and I'm going to enter a unique 6-digit code. So if someone guesses my username and they guess my password, before they can log in, they have to give this unique 6-digit code. And this expires, I think, every 30 seconds, maybe a little bit more. So this code right now, by the time I'm finished with this breath, it's going to expire. And look, it already expired before I could get it in here because I'm just talking away. So just let me enter the new one. So you can see this continually regenerates. Click login. And, again, now as I submit this code's probably going to expire again, and this same code won't work. So now you can see I'm into my Name Hero account. So two-factor auth, this is what I personally use anywhere that's offered. And I think that every online website app, especially the banks, offer this now because it's a safe and secure way. You would have to have my username, password, and my smartphone to be able to get in. So this ensures that only you have access to your account. At Name Hero, we allow you to set up child accounts. So if you have more than one person in your organization that needs to access your account, you can do that. Hover over here and you can go down to contacts or sub accounts and see you can create them here. And they can set it all up themselves on how they get in. Now to enable two-factor, you would just hover over here and click security settings, and you can see it's enabled here. If it was not, there would be a green button that say click here to enable. And again, I've got a full article, it's actually at the bottom of this one, on how to do it. See, it'll be green, click to enable, and you'll just follow a couple quick on-screen instructions, have the Google Authenticator app on your phone, it's free, scan the QR code, enter your verification, and then it's on. And then you have this backup code, so in case you get locked out, you can write this down. I would not store this on your computer. Write it on a sticky note, put it in your office drawer, put it in your wallet, put it somewhere it won't get lost, and then you always have that. But that really secures your account, and it's really that simple to do. I also recommend doing this on cPanel and or Web Host Manager. So if you go into, I'm going to go into an account here. And let's say we'll just use this one here to show Web Host Manager first. Click login to WHM, and I would go to I just type in 2, and then two-factor authentication comes up. And so it's enabled, and I would need to go to manage my account and set it up here. So it's just the same process as we just went through. I click set up to enable. I would scan this QR code, and then I would enter my security code here, and then it would be enabled. And so this way, if someone guesses your Web Host Manager username or password, they still cannot get in because you have to use your smartphone to get in. This is for our resellers or our VPS hosting customers, enabling two-factor, and it makes sure that you are safe and secured, and only you can get into Web Host Manager. The same for cPanel. If I click log into cPanel, I can just type in 2. Again, two-factor authentication, same thing. Set it up here, scan this with my Google Authenticator app, and you can click this link and they'll give you instructions on how to install that if you do not know how, or you can read my article, and then enter my security code and configure. So again, if you're a reseller, if you're a basic web hosting customer, and you have cPanel, you should enable this because it keeps your cPanel safe and secure. If you need to disable temporarily to let a developer come in, you can, but I recommend leaving this on most of the time because it will keep your account safe. Now, during our panel at cPanel conference, out of the 45, 50 people in the audience, when we asked who has two-factor authentication enabled, I saw about 4 hands go up. And, when asked why, most people didn't have a reason why, other than they just didn't do it. I understand it's a little annoying because it's an extra step you have to do. And me personally, I'm a little lazy. I want to get in, I want to get in quick. But really, the amount of security you get is so much better than not having this. It's worth that extra 5 seconds, 10 seconds of annoyance to make sure your cPanel is safe and secure. It's if your site's compromised, think about all the time that has to go into fixing it, to rebuilding your site, to fixing the compromised files. Even the expense, if you don't want to do it yourself, you need to hire a security expert, which we see a lot at NameHero, that, if a site's compromised, a lot of times it's so compromised, it really takes a security expert to go in and see what exactly is compromised and to get it fixed. At NameHero, we do complimentary nightly malware scanning, so we do detect this type of activity quickly, and we are quick to mitigate it. However, if a file is injected and we have to quarantine it, then it could cause your site to go down for a couple of hours or minutes until you're able to upload a fresh, clean file. So the best way is to actually be proactive instead of reactive, and it's by securing these logins. So two-factor auth, it's huge. It's enabled on everything at NameHero, and so I recommend that everyone does enable this. I've almost thought about making this a requirement at NameHero. When you first sign up, just making it a requirement, because I know that our customers, they span all over the globe, and I'd say that all the customers we have a smartphone. Smartphones are readily available nowadays, or even a smart tablet can have the two-factor auth. So highly recommend this. I'm not going to make it a requirement yet, but I'm highly recommend it to everyone. I'm going to push this video out, this blog post out to everyone, because I do want to see everyone start to enable this. Next, you can check your WordPress installations and make sure you're not using the username admin. I would say out of 9 out of 10 WordPress installations I see compromised, it's because they're using the username admin. If an attacker sees that you're using WordPress, and they can easily detect this in your HTML, they're going to try admin as username, and then they're going to use the dictionary attack for the password. Now, we have technologies that's going to try to block, multiple failed logins, but still, you can do something by just not using admin username, because then if your username is something strong, for example, if it's say Ryan Gray 2018-1, the hacker's not going to try that. They're going to try admin. If it doesn't work, they're going to move on to the next. They're just going to leave. It's like locking that car door, right? The car's locked. They're just going to move on. Username's not admin, they're going to move on. If the username is admin, they're going to try some other stuff. So that's easy. Check all your installations, make sure you're not using admin. If you are, change it. Install WordFence security plugin on all WordPress installations. I did a blog post and a tutorial on this not too long ago. Actually, it was the beginning of the year. Time flies. That shows you how to install this. And it's a free plugin. They do have a premium version, but really the free version is all you need. And what it does is when someone logs into your WP admin, it'll shoot you an email, and it'll also let you know if WordPress or any of your plugins and themes are out of date, because that's another bullet point that I have. Make sure WordPress core files, themes, and plugins are always running the latest version. So WordPress is open source. So unfortunately, since WordPress is open source, the source code's out there for everyone. And this means that there's bad guys and gals out there that are analyzing these files, and they're looking for ways to penetrate it so they can carry out their malicious activities. WordPress has a great development community, and so as these things come, as these security loopholes come about, they quickly patch them. But if you're not installing the updates, you don't get the patch. And so every day you run an outdated WordPress installation is another day that you're vulnerable. So it's like, for example, back to the car analogy, let's say you lock your car doors. Well, let's say that over time those locks become dated and they can kind of be jimmied open. It's not every time, but sometimes, if the bad guy or gal tries to get into the car, they can get in with some little, with a little finagling, some if they're using maybe I think they call it a Slim Jim, to get in. If they're using one of those tools and they can get in, it's the same with your WordPress. Anytime there's a vulnerability in your code, the attacker can get in. And so this is very simple. If you log into your WP admin, you can do these updates automatically. If you have a custom theme, most all developers nowadays, they come up with these updates as WordPress updates. And if you're using a theme that does not, then you should probably switch themes, because outdated themes is another thing that we see time and time again at NameHero. If someone's WordPress is compromised, they didn't have good updates. Same with plugins. If you're running a plugin that's not updated often, I would just trash it. I wouldn't use it, because it's really, technically it's junk. If they develop a plugin and they don't do any more development on it, you don't want to run something like that, because eventually it's just going to be out of date anyways. So you always want to use WordPress core files that are updated, themes that are updated, and plugs that are updated. And, I was talking to my brother who went with me to the conference, and we were talking about this, and he used to own it, and we used to actually own it together, and then he owned it himself, a really popular pro wrestling website. And this is something that he said, that he made a good point, that sometimes he didn't want to update the plugins because he had some custom stuff written, and if he updated, it could break those. If you have custom stuff written, you need to make sure the developer agrees to an update path always, because since WordPress is constantly changing, if you have some custom files, it might not be compatible with the next WordPress version, so it needs to be updated. And so just having a piece of custom software written one day, you need to make sure that developer is going to help with updates along the way, or just don't use it, because it is that serious. If they get into your website, then it could be bad news. So this is another big thing that we don't see enough of at NameHero. Could we force it? Well, yes. Are we considering it? Possibly. We're possibly considering scripts that will automatically update WordPress for you if it's not done, because it is that serious to keep everything updated. And you can easily do this by logging into your WP admin and just clicking update, and it does everything automatically. You don't have to touch any files. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to know anything about code. You just have to actually run the update and acknowledge it. And the more frequently you do this, the less likely it's going to break something, because as it upgrades from these smaller versions, when the major version comes about, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, and so WordFence is a good plugin because it will actually email you and say, you've got a problem, something's out of date, you need to update it. And so it just kind of reminds you. That's why I recommend WordFence. It's got a great web application firewall too. It's got a malware scanner in it. And again, it does email you every time someone logs into the admin, but also notifies you of these important updates. So WordFence, I think, is a must for everyone. I mean, despite all the security things we do here, it's just an extra thing you can add to your site that's free. So I don't see why anyone wouldn't want to do that. Next, use a password manager and ensure you're always using strong passwords on all logins. So nowadays with data breaches, what we see is sometimes users are using the same username and password for everything. So for example, let's say you have an Amazon.com account, a Target.com account, a Walmart.com account, and let's say a NameHero account. If you're using the same username and password for all of those, if Target has a data breach and the attacker gets the username and passwords, then that means they could potentially sell your information, and other attackers could try that on other websites. And unfortunately, we see this more and more often, that people are using the same username and password for everything. So it doesn't, and they might even use it on just some no-name company, no-name website that's compromised, and they don't even know, you're not made aware of it. And then an attacker has their username and password and goes and does malicious activity elsewhere. So it's bad to use the same username and password over and over again. Instead, I recommend using a password manager. LastPass.com, LASTPASS.com is a nice password manager. I think it's a free version, and then they offer some premium stuff to where you can download it on your computer, and it goes on your web browser. And so when you sign up at Amazon or Target or NameHero, it'll generate a secure password for you, and then it stores it in the password manager. And that way you don't have to remember all this stuff. You don't have to remember your password for Amazon, Target. You just have to know your LastPass password, and then you can have access to everything else. In LastPass, they handle their security to remind you to change your master password frequently, and they have some qualifications to make that really strong. So that's what I recommend doing. Again, we did a show of hands at cPanel conference, and the number using a password manager was, it was greater than two-factor auth. There was a lot more hands than 4, but it still still wasn't the whole room. And so that tells me that and these are professionals in the web hosting industry. It's telling me that more and more people are using the same logins for different services. You don't want to do that. So use strong passwords. And when you're doing a password, use a combination of letters, numbers, uppercase, and special characters. So kind of a combination of everything to make it hard for an attacker. Attackers will use dictionary-based attack software, meaning that it's going to put every combination of numbers, letters, and uppercase, and sometimes special characters together. So the harder you make it, again, it's like that lock in the car, the likely they're just going to move on. And finally, regularly scan your computer for malware and or viruses. So, I think that most everyone does this. Most computers have this on here now. We don't see it as much with Macs as we do with Windows. Windows are extremely vulnerable, so having updated antivirus software is a must. But Macs, can still get that type of stuff. Keyloggers is something that we see, not as much as we used to, but it's still out there. Nowadays, with like all these Bitcoin and cryptocurrency wallets, a lot of those are infected with malware, so that can be a huge security breach. So make sure you're running an antivirus on your computer. It's updated and you regularly scan it. Most computers will notify you if it's not updated. I run Macs and I've got this type of software on my computer, and if you can look, you can do your research, and there's plenty of free ones out there. If you're cheap like me and don't want to pay, you can find free good software. Just make sure you're getting it from somewhere reputable. You search the forums out there, people are talking and they'll let you know. But you definitely want to do that. If you're unsure, go to your local computer repair store and ask them. Best Buy's got the Geek Squad. That's just general security, not even really name hero. Just making sure your computer is safe and secure. I would go out on a limb and say that most everyone shops online nowadays. For something or another, or pays bills online. So that's protects all of that as well. So these 7 bullet points. This is stuff that I really ask that everyone does. And it's really simple. Nothing complicated here. There's no code that needs to be done. But by doing this, you're taking a huge proactive step forward to keeping everything safe and secure. I think the biggest thing that people don't want to do is keep this one done. And this is what we see most often at Name Hero. When WordPress is compromised, it's either outdated WordPress or the password's weak. They're using username admin and the password pass. That's what we see most of the time. And those that don't do that, they hardly ever have an issue with someone getting into their website. If I scroll down here, we asked around the industry, and here's how accounts are compromised industry-wide, not just Name Hero. WordPress admin login, this is the biggest one we see because some people use admin and pass and they think they won't get attacked, and of course they do. Your IMAP and email login, so you make those email address passwords strong. Attackers like these because they can send out spam, and that can really ruin your email reputation and deliverability. So that's a big one. Your FTP account login, this of course is important. I personally don't really like FTP anymore, and that was a question too that I got on the panel. Do we still allow FTP? We still do at Name Hero. I would rather see you use SFTP, but if you want to use FTP, use it at home. Don't go to Starbucks or a public Wi-Fi and use it, because that just sets you completely vulnerable. I don't like public Wi-Fi, period, just because of all the attacks and stuff out there, but using just plain Jane FTP at Starbucks, real bad idea. So if you're going to use FTP, do it at home, do it on your network, do it in a secure place. But definitely don't take it to Starbucks. cPanel account login, and so using the two-factor, that secures that right off the bat. So, and there is also some WordPress plugins that will enable two-factor for WordPress. So you can Google or go to WordPress.org and look it up. Two-factor WordPress. So that's another really good option. So that's where we see these attackers coming in from. It's not like they've compromised an entire server or entire network. Most of the time, it's very directed. But if they can't get in on one site, they just move to the next. And so Igor from Cloud Linux, the CEO of Cloud Linux, was asked, why do they target a site specifically? And what he said is they target every site. And, I believe that to be true. It's not, back in the late 90s and mid 2000s, we saw, specific niches targeted. I don't really think that's the case nowadays. I think it's just any WordPress site is automatically a target. I think the attackers, they know what they're looking for in code. They know they have bots that are scanning the internet. And I think that just any WordPress site or any website in general, they're going to quickly look. And if it's using WordPress, they detect it. They'll try admin. And if not, they'll move to the next. So I think that there's no shortage of websites for attackers to get into. And so I don't think that anything specifically makes you a target nowadays. I think just having a website makes you a target. So it's not because you have a specific niche or whatever. I think it's just because you have a website that you are a target nowadays. So by doing all this, you can greatly enhance the security on your account. At NameHero, we're still doing those nightly malware scans. We still have lots of security software, lots of pieces that we're analyzing and looking at every single day to help mitigate and prevent these attacks. And if these attacks do happen, we're trying to clean those up for you. But still, I think that there has to be some type of personal accountability that has to go along with all this. It's like if you leave your car unlocked in a downtown area, and then if someone gets in and gets your change or even some valuables or possessions, you're kind of personally accountable for that too, because yes, it does stink and it's bad. There's bad people out there, but let's face it, there is. Everywhere in the world, there's bad guys and gals. So, you can take a big step forward by just locking the car, by just locking your doors to your house. Same with your website. There's got to be some type of personal accountability. And I get cursed out for anytime someone's website gets compromised and they blame the web host, they'll curse us out, that we didn't do something. Well, there's only so much we can do before then it goes back to the locks in the car. Ford installed locks on your car. They installed a car alarm on a lot of models nowadays. But if you don't have the car locked and the alarm system armed, then how is it their fault? Where's the personal accountability? So with Cybersecurity Awareness Month, I feel like this is a great time to discuss all of this and, to really do all this stuff. It's easy. It doesn't take much time. You can do it here in the next 5-10 minutes. This video is much longer than it takes you to do all this stuff. And you can really take some steps forward to creating a safer infrastructure for yourself, for your customers, and for everyone. Because the more secure your site is, it secures the internet as a whole. So we can all do our part. We can all do a piece for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You don't have to be a coder. You don't have to be a tech guru. You can just be just an everyday web user and do these steps and to keep the internet a safer place and keep your website safe. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on this video. I'd love to engage in a talk with you. You can go visit this blog post here on NameHero. You can go to namehero.com/startup and you can just type in cybersecurity awareness into the search box and this post will come up. Or you can even just Google this plus NameHero and it will come up as well. So thanks so much for watching. I hope everyone takes this post serious or this video serious. If you watch or get nothing out of the material I put out there, please get something out of this one because it will really help us all out. So thanks so much for watching and using namehero.com.